16. Steve?
Bears fans, you think you've had a revolving door at quarterback the last 16 years? You have. Nobody's had more starters at quarterback since 1992 than Chicago. The less than illustrious list in alphabetical order: Henry Burris, Chris Chandler, Will Fuhrer, Brian Griese, Rex Grossman, Jim Harbaugh, Chad Hutchinson, Eric Kramer, Craig Krenzel, Dave Craig, Shane Matthews, Cade McNown, Jim Miller, Rick Meyer, Moses Moreno, Kyle Orton, Jonathan Quinn, Steve Stenstrom, Cordell Stewart, Steve Walsh, and Peter Tom Willis. So you'll forgive the citywide groan in the Windy City when the Bears broke camp and Coach Lovie Smith still hadn't declared Orton or Grossman the starter this season. Taking on the Seahawks in beautiful Seattle last night, first quarter. Bears already down 3-0, and Grossman tattooed by Darryl Tapp, ball picked up by Leroy Hill. Grossman 9 of 15, 74 yards. How about Kyle Orton? 5 of 9, 43 yards. Does complete that pass, but the Seahawks win the game 29-26 in overtime. Vikings-Ravens, Tavares Jackson. Who needs Brett Favre? Nice touch. Good find to Martin Nance, all alone, 7-0 Vikings. And then Jackson showing the ability to scramble, but gets sort of twisted on the tackle, bruised right knee. Keep your eye on this situation. Vikings win the game, though, 23-15. Cardinals and Chiefs. Both teams with quarterback issues, but Larry Johnson, the running back, 14 carries, 61 yards, that 18 alone. How about Matt Leinart? USC to Michigan. Steve Breston with a touchdown. Leinart 7 of 11 for 62 yards, and his Cardinals win 27-17. College football, the AP preseason top 25 is out, and Georgia is #1 for the first time ever before kicking off in fall. 4 SEC schools in the top 5, 5 Big 12 teams in the top 14, and no Florida State or Michigan in the top 25 for the first time in 23 years. BYU, the top non-BCS school, at 16. Nobody knows the college football game better than Kirk Herbstreit, and he joins us now to break down what he sees in the AP preseason top 25. So, Herbie, what do you think? 4 SEC schools in the top 10. Should there be?
Oh, absolutely. My reaction to this poll, this initial poll, is that my 12 teams, it's scary.
I know you're going to get some arguments from Big 12 fans, so let the emails begin. And keep in mind, for Georgia, #1, each of those other 3 top 10 schools in the SEC, they play each of them on the road, including Florida. So they've got the Heisman winner back in Tim Tebow and 15 other starters. But last year they only went 9-4. So where would you rank the Gators?
Well, I actually vote in the AP, and I put Florida at #1 in the country. Really? And and you got to remember, we put this vote in back August 1st, and there's been a lot of injuries for a lot of these teams. Title.
Those are 2 of the more well-known teams across the land. BYU, preseason 16th, getting a ton of buzz as a BCS buster. Should we believe the hype coming out of the Mountain West?
Why is it that every year somebody has to be the next Boise State? Somebody has to be the next Utah from a few years ago. Not a given for BYU to get there, but quit forcing the next Boise on us and the next Utah. Let them earn their right. I think they're ranked way too high.
Kirk Herbstreit, you've earned the right to appear on SportsCenter as often as you darn well please. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yep.
If you're joining us along the way,
The marathon is the only Olympic event named after its own creation. It goes back to ancient times when a runner sets off after the Greeks' victorious battle at Marathon. But by the time he arrives in Sparta, he can only sputter the words, "Rejoice, we triumph," before collapsing to the ground dead. As Chris Connolly describes in this Outside the Lines report, the Olympic marathon 4 years ago in Athens might have been the most shocking since. It all happened at mile 22 when a Brazilian on the verge of history ran right into a deranged man.
For Brazilian runner Vanderlei de Lima, it was the wildest of dreams. That a boy raised in unspeakable poverty could someday run these roads near Sao Paulo as a world-class marathoner. And that at the 2004 Olympics in Athens, he could become the first Brazilian ever to win a medal in the marathon.
I think that what prevailed was my perseverance. In spite of all the obstacles that I had overcome during all my life, I never gave up my dream.
But as he entered the 22nd mile of the 2004 Olympic marathon with a 25-second lead, Vanderlei de Lima could never have imagined that the final thing standing in the way of his dream would be this man. Cornelius Horan, a man who once spent 11 weeks in a mental hospital, an eccentric with a taste for dancing the Irish jig, who found a way to get attention for his religious beliefs with demonstrations at sports events.
I feel there's a real danger now in these times that sport becomes the religion that Christianity was in former times, and that sporting heroes almost have taken the place of Christian martyrs and Christian saints.
Horan wears a priest's collar, but the Catholic Church kicked him out of the priesthood years ago.
We've got a lunatic on the track, down the Hanger Straight, 160 miles an hour.
Drawn by his distaste for sports, Horan ran onto the track at the 2003 British Grand Prix.
That is absolutely unbelievable.
What on earth are you doing?
He waved his signs while cars swerved to avoid him. An official wrestled him off the track before anyone was hurt.
I thought, gosh, I wonder what the crowd think of it. And I could see the utter astonishment in the spectators' faces.
The adrenaline rush and the attention left him wanting more. As the 2004 Olympics drew near, Horan began to plot what he might do in Athens.
I thought the one event is the legendary marathon, which Greece gave birth to. That's the final event. In fact, one of them, when I rang up the Olympic office, she said, you don't need a ticket for the marathon. She said, you can view that anywhere. So I thought, that's the one.
August 29th, the last day of Olympic competition, brought the men's marathon back to the land of its origin. After an uneventful hour in the brutal Athens heat, Vanderlei de Lima made his move at mile 13, breaking away from the pack to take the lead, then extending that lead as the miles went by.
Each meter I conquered brought me more confidence. I was in a very comfortable situation, and I was very sure that if nothing had happened, I would have been able to get to the end and win the gold.
But something was about to happen, because as de Lima began the 22nd mile, someone was lying in wait for him. Someone who had been waiting for hours at this cafe along the route. It was Cornelius Horan.
And this tiny figure in front of me, I'd say he's no more than 5'5". Very lightly built. Something clicked in my mind saying, this is it. This is the big one. This is the marathon. Unless you move now, you'll look a right fool.
In an instant, Horan bolted onto the course and drove Vanderlei de Lima into the spectators at the side of the road.
He came with such a violence and speed towards me. I didn't have any way to defend myself. It was completely unexpected for me. I didn't have the physical strength to react to such an act. At that moment, I really was fearing for my life.
I could still see the sort of the horror in his face as he glanced slightly sideways as I was coming. And that look on his face has disturbed me an awful lot, because I see it to think that, that I was responsible for inflicting that on another human being.
With the help of spectators, de Lima pulled himself free and rejoined the race. The incident lasted about 20 seconds, but the damage was done.
Well, from that moment on, I started to feel a lot of muscle pain in my legs. It was as if my legs were being locked, and I think there was also a psychological factor that affected me.
Two runners sped past him. His chance for gold was gone.
How could a man of God like you take away this man's dream?
I suppose a man of God can only do something like that, take away, if you like, the dream of a lifetime, because the man of God has a powerful dream for mankind.
But as the runners made their way into this Athenian stadium and to the finish line, it turned out that the 2004 men's marathon had one more surprise in store. Because Vanderlei de Lima didn't seem unhappy or upset. In fact, he seemed joyful.
Quando eu olhei para trás, havia uma diferença muito grande.
I had looked behind me and I knew that the bronze medal was certain.
A medalha de bronze.
I had overcome everything and finished in third place, in spite of all the obstacles. And I thought, wow, I won a medal. For me, the color of the medal was of no importance. What was important was the medal itself. Why would I complain after having just realized my dream?
Christ will soon take power from all governments.
Cornelius Horan never spent a day in jail for his attack. He returned to England, where he continues his attempts to spread his message. Vanderlei de Lima returned to Brazil as a national hero, hailed for his bronze medal winning performance and for his sportsmanship, worthy of a true Olympian.
Logo depois que terminou a maratona,
right after the end of the marathon, somebody asked me if I would forgive him. I answered that I would forgive him for what he did. In my opinion, we have to show good example wherever we go. A boy coming from working in the fields was able to achieve the Olympic dream. I think the greatest meaning of this medal is to have fought and achieved the goal.
After the Games, de Lima was given a special Olympic medal for his extraordinary sportsmanship. Cornelius Horan was fined and given a suspended sentence for what he did in Athens and has promised not to show up in Beijing. De Lima isn't there either. He injured a quad in training and didn't qualify. Coming up, another feel-good story from the Olympics. The eighth wonder here from Michael Phelps himself on the historic run in Beijing. Plus, Brett Favre makes his big city debut. The quarterback admits he second-guessed some decisions this year. Why he knew he got it right last night. You got to go back to the Jay Giles era to find the last time a Georgia squad topped the National College Football rankings. Well, freeze your frame, Herschel Walker fans. For the first time since the end of the 1982 regular season, the Bulldogs are back on top of the AP poll. They got a huge question mark at left tackle. The projected starter is out the season with a knee injury, and no fewer than 5 guys are still battling to replace him. John Buccigross now on why, if you're the preseason #1, your blood has to run cold.
Preseason #1.
Ray Schaff, ESPN.
One of the other seminal stories of the Games is how do you triumph in the face of tragedy before you've even started the healing process? That is the unenviable task of the U.S. men's volleyball team at the Olympiad. A coach who has to decide between family and familiar. Players slogging through sorrow to find glory. As George Smith reports from Beijing, Team USA is finding the road to the medal stand much harder than expected.
The attack at the drum tower.
Best. Despite the tragedy, the U.S. team is actually 4-0. Its next game, a quarterfinal matchup with Japan at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific tomorrow night.